In a recent blog post by Josh Tumeth, I learned that there is a proposal for a new meta tag. In this video, I show you how it works and which problem it may solve for you and your users. The name of this new meta tag is text scale, and here's how it looks like. So you have the meta tag that you already know. For the name attribute, we have a new value, text scale, and for the content attribute, scale. I've prepared a short demo to show you what it does. In this demo, you can see we have 3 divs, and on each div, I'm setting the font size differently. So the font size for the first div is 16 pixels, for the second one it's 1 EM and 1 rem for the third one. There's also some CSS. Most importantly, I'm defining a border top on the body element with a default color of black, and at a minimum width of 420 pixels it changes to salmon. Now if we move out of CodePen, we have the same demo here, and I set the viewport width to 1000. Okay, and if I now use the built-in browser zoom using Command plus and minus or Control plus and minus on Windows, you can see how the entire page zooms. And if I zoom up to 200%, you can see how the viewport now doesn't have a width of 1000 anymore, but 500, because we scaled the viewport by 200%. So the built-in browser zoom scales the entire page, not just the text, but the entire thing. You can see if I keep zooming, at some point the color of the border on the body element isn't salmon anymore, but black, because now the viewport width is below 420, which means that my media query doesn't kick in. Again, it zooms the entire thing. But this is not the only way how you can zoom text in a browser. You can also go into the settings, and here in Chrome it's under settings you have appearance, and under appearance you have customized fonts. And here you can see how the default font size is 16 pixels, but we can change that. And if we do so, you can see how some of the text scales. So the text that are defined in pixels doesn't scale because it's more or less an absolute unit, but our text defined in EM and rem scales relative to the default font size in the browser. Cool. So this is how it works on desktop. Now, if we look at the mobile browser, and I will quickly show you my smartphone screen here. Okay, let me log in. We're now in Chrome, and if I switch to my settings on Android, and I find, where is it? Accessibility. And in accessibility, there is display text. On iOS, it's very similar. You will find it under similar categories or sections in your settings. And you can see that the font size is now relatively low. If I increase it, you can see how the font size increases on the entire operating system. So everything is now very large, or at least the font size is very large. If I switch back to my browser, you can see how the text in the address field is now really large, but the text on the website hasn't changed at all. And this is because the websites or the browser or the part of the browser that renders the websites doesn't respect the text size in the operating system. That's unfortunate, I would say, because if I change the text size on the operating system, I probably want it to change everywhere, not just the OS, but also in all apps and also on websites, right? And this is what this meta tag is for. Now let me just quickly copy it. I will just copy that, and we move back to CodePen. I will add this here to my viewport meta tag. Now on desktop, it doesn't change anything. But if I now refresh my browser in Chrome, you can see how all of a sudden the text changes with the OS settings. The pixel text is still the same because it works pretty much the same as it does on a desktop browser, but our relative units, EM and rem, change with the font size defined on the operating system. And that's great. That's a cool thing. Now the question is, why don't they do it by default? Because if you do that, like if you would try it on every website, it would break a lot of websites. And I assume that this is the reason, or one of the reasons why they made it an opt-in option. So if you want to support text scaling, or if you want to build your websites relative to the text size on the operating system, you can use this meta tag. But only in Chrome Canary at the moment, so it's an experimental feature. It's not rolled out everywhere, but yeah, you can test it by downloading Canary. Now, some of you may say, but wait a minute, I'm a Firefox user and I'm pretty sure that text scales in Firefox. And that's true, more or less. So if we switch to Firefox as well, you can see how the entire text is large, but you can also see how the border color is black now. And this is because even without the meta tag, Firefox will scale the entire page. So it is kind of relative to the font size on the operating system, but it doesn't just scale the text, it scales the entire viewport, very similar to what I did earlier with the command plus and minus. So yes, Firefox is a bit different. It reacts to the settings, but in a different way. Yes, I think that's it. On my website, I have a blog post where I pretty much have summarized the same thing that I just told you. There's also a link to the demo and also a link to Josh's blog post somewhere. Where is it? Somewhere at the beginning. Yeah, here it is. So you can check it out, try it out, see if there are any bugs, and maybe just try with your own website and see how it works. I tried with my personal website and it broke some things, even though it's a very simple site. So it's probably a bit too dangerous to just use it right away, but just add it to your site and test it in Chrome Canary and see what it breaks, fix it, and you will probably make the lives of your users easier by using this meta tag. That's it. Thanks so much for watching. If you want to, leave a like and subscribe to my channel if you haven't, and see you in the next video.